Yeah, man. I got a duck here. I got a duck too. Man.
Hey. I love how the duck accidentally became our logo. It's wonderful.
I love it, and I love putting him in the middle of every episode. Little icon, whatever they call it. We have a nice little library of them now, and how like we put our guests on it. Funniest thing. I'm just curious when we do actually one day get an astronaut, a real live astronaut on our show. Would he appreciate, or he or she appreciate, being in that cartoon spacesuit, or would they prefer to be in a like an actual genuine EVA type spacesuit that they actually wore? I'll figure it out.
I feel like if we get a real astronaut on the show, they deserve to have whatever sort of changes that they so desire. So yeah, if we need to update the suit just for them to a more accurate EVA suit to what they may have actually worn. In
Sure.
terms of the vehicle, I think, if they've had experience on, space shuttles and or, Soyuz or whatever it is, the duck is just another thing to add to their resume.
Absolutely.
Come on.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's gonna catch on in the spacefaring community. You know, bragging about, I rode on one shuttle. I rode on three different shuttles. I rode on three shuttles I had to Soyuz. I went on a SpaceX. Blah blah. Yeah, yeah. I rode a duck. That's bragging right. Bonus point glory right there.
I mean, not just I rode on a duck, I rode the duck. I think by that point,
I
like
think we
once
have
we get,
cornered the market in science communication podcast duck rating.
I think we can definitely, we should call up Guinness Book of Records and inform them of that very very niche achievement.
Yeah, we're not saying nobody else can make a science communication podcast about a duck, but we can say so far we've done it the most. Hence the record.
Yeah, yeah. 100 episodes of Riding the Duck.
Almost there. Almost there.
So soon. It's crazy. I wonder what is the furthest planet that an astronaut could reach while listening to our episodes back to back. Like if you lined up all of our content,
Yeah.
where would that get them to?
You can make it
Or
to
they'll
the
just get
moon.
them past the moon. The moon? Good
Well,
enough.
this is our 79th episode, estimating about an hour a pop.
Mm-hmm.
That's 3 days and change. That's the moon.
Cool. So we have some time before Artemis 3 and 4. I think that this
We'll
needs.
get you to Mars by then. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. And it's
Yeah.
only 20 minutes communication travel by then. I'm certain they would not mind clogging the network, the deep space network with here comes a podcast.
No. They just download it in advance. They have all the episodes, and it's like, cool. You can only come back to Earth once you finish your podcast.
I don't know though. I mean, that's the moon's a few days. Getting to Mars would be, isn't that like a month to get there when it's at the closest sweet spot when both planets are nearest each other in their orbits?
It's a good few months, but that also depends what speed they're traveling at. Because if we're talking relativistic speeds,
Mm-hmm.
suddenly distances are not what they seem. At least, for them experiencing the
True.
the trip, for us watching them, it
Yeah.
would be like the same amount of time that you would expect.
Maybe they can get one of those fancy schmancy new astrophage engines that I've been
Ooh,
hearing
an
about.
astrophage engine. All right. So I think this is maybe the point in the show where if you've been listening until now, firstly, hi and welcome to another episode of Science
Hi,
Actually presents the
everybody.
Nerd and the Scientist. Hi, Dr. Nick. So you are listening to us, Benjamin and I am Benjamin, and we hope you've enjoyed the banter of the last few minutes because what comes next um, will certainly contain spoilers about the book Project Hail Mary. Um, Now, with that said, Benjamin has seen the movie. I have not, so we will be avoiding spoilers for the movie Project Hail Mary. But if you do not want to hear any spoilers at all about the general storyline of Project Hail Mary, specifically the book, I will unfortunately recommend that you stop listening now and protect your precious ears. We do have, as Benjamin mentioned, 78 other episodes that you can listen to instead. Not to mention the Space Case Sarah show on our old shenanigans.
We got up to
30,
38, something like
38.
that.
We've got over 100 hours of content for you to listen to instead of this particular episode if you want
Yeah.
to avoid spoilers. But yes, take that minute and a half of rambling as a spoiler alert for Project Hail Mary.
Okay, I guess I'll just sign off. Oh, wait, I'm kidding. I read it real fast, so I know all the spoilers.
I
Ah,
have to I have to say people were telling me to read it for years and I didn't until last week.
oh, you literally just read it.
I just read
Ah,
it.
wow. It's a fantastic book.
Yeah, it's
I
a
thought
great read.
it's a great read. It's a very good read. I appreciated how it was interesting, but it's getting kind of dull. It's kind of slowing, it felt like, right to the midpoint of the book. And then all of a sudden, it gets someone shows up and it becomes incredible. And we went from interesting, okay, it's cool, it's interesting, it's good. Then all of a sudden, whammo, we have a visitor from another world. And I'm like, oh, how well timed. It was very well done. I was very, very happy with that.
I
I'm
think
actually starting to
maybe
read the third book,
a third book.
Artemis.
Ooh. Ooh.
It's about a heist on the moon.
Luna Heist?
Mhm. Anyway, but back to Project Hail Mary. Yes, it is a very, very fun and fine book, and it's a good read, and it's exciting, and it covers a lot of interesting topics, which I thought was good.
What would you say was the most interesting topic? Like what when you first realized like either it was explicitly introduced or it was like leading into it, you're like, oh, they're gonna do the thing, they're gonna talk about the thing. Like what did you get most excited about?
I liked the well. We're only talking about the books. So we're not saying anything about the movie and blah blah blah. And I'm sure through the advertising for this movie, which is on every cereal box and radio show and streaming platform commercial break, you know there's an alien. And for me, what I thought was very interesting was he's communicating with the alien, or the main character,
Hmm.
which is Dr. Grace, Ryland Grace,
I think so, yes.
and he's communicating with an alien. And I have always kind of liked in my sci-fi media the different
Hmm.
ways that we or characters that we write communicate with other aliens when we come across them. There's the mathematical approach, like you see in Contact, where there's a
Hmm.
signal being sent to you, and the signal is sent in prime numbers. That's math. And then you dig into the signal, and there's layers. And then you dig into that signal even further, and there's three-dimensional puzzle pieces. Like, oh, okay. But then you also have movies like Arrival, which was I thought was okay, but I love the fact that the two species, humans and the people that come to Earth, they start by introducing themselves. What is their names? and they start showing each other objects, saying, this is what we call a box. This is what we call a person. This is what we call a light." And they start sharing their words that they have for these different things. And so there's these two approaches, and I I always like that kind of, like, how are they going to handle this interspecies, interplanetary communication? How they open it up, and I thought how they handled it in the book, is very, very good.
Yeah, the whole idea of um, a species that doesn't perceive vision, and therefore the way that they communicate is, primarily through audio, through sound. But then the way in which that communication happens is so interesting.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that by the end of the, not even by the end of the book, by the midway point of the book, Dr. Grace is already like recognizing specific sounds that are basically just, musical notes.
Mm-hmm.
And, doesn't necessarily, like he's a former, if I get this correct, he was a former biologist and
Right.
then molecular biologist and then became a high school science teacher. So he doesn't have musical training per se, but then develops this ability to perceive, very subtle variations in musical notes, which were the way that this uh, creature, affectionately named as Rocky, um,
Mm-hmm.
would speak and would communicate. So it's fascinating.
There was a sci-fi movie. Was it out of Australia? Was it District 9?
South Africa, I believe.
South Africa. Anyway, District 9, and it's these aliens that kind of, uh, they don't really crash land on Earth, but they come to Earth because something's wrong with their ship and they have no place to stay, and they get set up in these refugee camps all across South Africa. And there's the story centers around this government official who goes around and interviews them for various reasons, and they speak in a very clicking, click, 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 click kind of sound. And he, in the very beginning of the movie, before it goes completely sideways in a pretty cool way, actually, uh, he speaks to them in English. They speak to him in their clicking sounds. He understands their clicks. They understand his English, but they speak to each other in their native languages. And he recognizes, say that again. How many clicks was that? And I love that bit because he'd been going there for so long and interacting with these aliens that he just eventually picked up on the patterns and understood the clicks.
There's always, and we can move off the like communication thing if you want, but I think there's so much depth to this because there's always this really delicate balance when you're creating content for people to enjoy. And like we can talk about this generally in the context of sci-fi. How do you balance scientific accuracy and like engaging content, driving the narrative forwards? But specifically throughout the history of sci-fi, modern sci-fi, the communication aspect, it's so easy and albeit lazy to just say, oh, there's some MacGuffin, there's some magic box, and everyone, as far as the viewer, reader, consumer is concerned, they're just speaking English. Even,
Mhm.
there's some like telepathic thing, a Babel fish, whatever.
Babelfish.
Um, and and I think that maintaining some sort of grounding in reality that like these two beings are not actually speaking the same language is really important for kind of like the suspension of disbelief, but you also do like the suspension cable still needs to be grounded and tied,
Hmm.
if that makes sense.
Yeah. There's a great bit in Futurama where Professor Farnsworth created the ultimate universal translation machine. The only problem is it translates everything into a dead language that nobody knows. And so Fry tries it out and he says hello, and the machine says back bonjour. And I have no idea what the hell it means. And it's just wonderful because it means French is dead. I loved it. Anyway, moving along from communication. um, I thought a very funny part of the book, and I probably one of I think my favorite funniest bits in the book is when um, they talk about how they they're watching each other eat and the kind of food they each eat, and
Hmm.
Grace has he speaks in his journal, I guess, about how he's been given some of Rocky's food to try it out to see how what it's like, whatever, and he can't eat it because it's just too toxic. It's got heavy metals in it, and it's all radioactive or something. It's toxic for him, and he's telling Rocky, "I can't eat this. It's got thallium in it. It's just too heavy with thallium. And why do you have so much thallium on his food?" And then Rocky says back, kind of indignant, "Because it's good for you." But for him, it's awesome. It makes me think like you're talking to somebody like, "Oh, you got to eat this. It's got turmeric in it." Like, what's turmeric? Like, it's good for you. You want it. But for them, it's thallium. They like their thallium, like we like our potassium or something. I thought it was one of the funniest bits.
This is going to be a serious spoiler. So there's okay. So there's a bit right at the end where at the end of the book, um, where this human ends up on the alien homeworld, where like all they eat are these metals, right? They don't have like organic foods in the same way that we do. And the solution that they come up with
Ah, yes,
is to basically um, grow to take some of this human cells and grow them in a lab and to create lab grown meat out of them,
yes,
which leads me to the question that was posed to me by a friend recently when he was asking me what I thought about the book. And this is my friend Brian, who you know, who will hopefully be coming on the podcast in a couple of months.
yes.
Um, the way that Brian framed the question to me was, would you eat a me burger?
That's a good question. Would you? I know you're a vegetarian, but this is a heightened situation in which you are the only representative of your species on this world, and they are treating you as royalty. You help save them. They love you, and you are just this wealth of knowledge for them, and you're teaching them, and you're showing them what the outside universe has to offer, and they don't want you to die, and they're not going to
You have
just.
no choice.
Would you enjoy a Kavi burger?
My response to Brian was 100%. It's cruelty free.
And it's cruelty free, 100%. And how would you dress a Kavi burger? I mean, are we talking mustard? Are we talking mayo, lettuce, tomatoes?
There's got to be pickles, and there's got to be something spicy. I want to say like a chili oil or a chili crisp.
Ooh. Yeah, I like a good spicy in my burger. I need some spice.
Beyond that, I don't know. It would depend what is available on this on this particular planet.
Some thallium peppers.
Just iron shavings. Yeah.
Iron shakes. God. Well, you do need some.
I'm just picturing like those giant ground pepper things at fancy restaurant that look like the leg of an old chair. It's like
Yes.
some more thallium for you, sir.
Thallium, sir. That'd be great. That would be great.
Would you eat a Benjamin burger?
In a heartbeat. I wouldn't think twice about it. You are what you eat, I say, and I eat burgers, so I'm already burger. So I'm sure it's going to be pretty good. I
I've
would
told
love
you
to.
about my
Go on, yes.
I've told you about my like end state capitalism version of lab grown meat. It's just like the pure commercialization of having meat that's grown from cells cultured from celebrities, and like the market that could grow from that. And so you'd
You
have
know, that's
like
funny. That's really funny, and I guarantee you that would sell.
it
That
would
would
so sell.
absolutely sell.
My two go tos whenever I think about this, um, John Ham Ham, and Natalie Porterhouse.
Oh, I go for a classic Candice Bergenberger. That sounds good. But that would sell. I guarantee you that would sell.
It would sell. Yeah,
That's
better than
disgusting.
the coma slurry that he had to eat on the journey.
Yeah, that was cool. I like the whole very Kavi jump to the very end, but I'll jump back to the very beginning of the whole slow waking up and not knowing where he is,
Oh,
and then a robot asking him a simple question, he can't answer it, knocks him right back out because he's not ready yet. Then he wakes up again, tries to answer a question, can't get around to it though. Robot knocks him out again, and the food he's been given is just bland and boring, and how he's slowly being, nursed back to normal food like you would with a baby. The baby, like the adult human version of baby foods, bland but delicious because it's better than what he can feel that his body's been having, which is like nothing. And it's just, I actually thought that was actually very, very well done. I liked it very much.
it was quite cool, and it's also interesting to consider some of the technologies around long duration space flight.
Mm-hmm.
So there were, we spoke before about the journey to Mars being several months, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think the distance, sorry, the time at traditional, you know, travel speeds that are currently technologically available to us, depending on the orbital distance, would be somewhere between like 6 and 20 months, something like that. And if you're launching something into space, we've spoken about before, the more stuff you're trying to launch, the more mass you have, the more fuel it requires. And if you're sending a whole bunch of human beings on a journey for several months, they need a lot of food, right? Even if they're recycling water to some extent, they still do need a lot of water, a lot of food.
Mm-hmm.
And so, one possibility that has been tested out for several years now is this idea of inducing a coma, just like was done in the book. You induce a coma, you feed through an IV or some sort of tube, and as a result, you have a much lower mass requirement for launch and therefore cheaper launch, less fuel, etc. So it was interesting to see that kind of play out again in this kind of like sci-fi environment, but one that's somewhat grounded in realistic limitations and conditions.
Yes. It, yeah. It also kind of preserved the idea that all space flight is risky when in the book, I have to say in the book, they
Thank you.
clarified that very few people are able to go undergo this long duration coma, and you
Yeah.
need a certain uh, genetic something that says that you are the kind of person who's able to withstand a long duration coma like this, which of course the main character has, that makes him ripe for the mission. And then, upon waking up, even though he and two other travelers went with him, uh, not everybody makes that journey. Not everyone can to withstand that kind of a length of coma, and so that was also grounded in reality that space is hard. Space is so
Yep.
hard
So hard.
in
Yeah.
reality, and in thankfully Andy Weird's books, because he understands how to make sure he does the math. And he did many, many interviews about the book, about how did he come up with these types of worlds, and he tries to work as much science into his uh, realistic science into his books as he possibly can. And we know what water is on our planet. We appreciate how water is liquid on our planet, given our gravity and our atmosphere and that kind of stuff. But how could water
Mhm.
possibly exist on Rocky's world, arid, right? right?
Mhm.
Arid, right?
Yep.
How could water possibly be there? It's much hotter. But he realized because of the gravity of the mass of the planet and the incredible atmospheric pressure, in that condition, water could stay liquid, which I still think is kind of it's incredible to think about. But yeah, he
Yeah,
got it right.
it's crazy how like the way that chemistry is taught in high school and university, kind of classic periodic table and the assumptions you make, all are fundamentally based on the idea that you're under STP conditions, standard temperature
Mm-hmm.
and pressure. Um, and that's not to say that the elements that exist elsewhere in the universe are different. The fundamental building blocks are the same, but the way that things behave, the way that they interact, totally different in different temperature and pressure conditions.
Right?
Just just
Like
bananas.
water has the what's that called? The triple point. Water has a triple point
Hmm.
where it's a gas and a liquid and a solid all in the same place, all at the same time. Because you have to make the conditions right, not like it is outside or in your living room, but in this incredibly intense small container with everything just a certain way. Water can just act absolutely bonkers. So it's an incredible thing. Look up a triple point. Look up water's triple point online, people. You'll see that this is an incredibly weird experiment where water in a jar can just. I'm oversimplifying it, mostly because
I
I
think
can't
yeah, but
explain it. But
generally speaking, um, elements have different phases they can be in, right? As you're saying, liquid, gas, solid. If we're just like simplifying for this triple point example, and generally speaking, there is energy required to transition in either direction from one state to another, called a phase change, and these phase changes basically happen very rapidly when the conditions change, when that change in energy happens. So, one thing that you can do to kind of get water right to the edge of that phase transition is get a bottle of distilled water, right? So it's pure in terms of like not having anything else besides water molecules, and you put that in a plastic bottle in your freezer, and you're very gentle with it when you take it out when it's been in there for I don't know several hours overnight, whatever it is. And what you can do is then place it on a table and tap it once. And what will
Mhm.
happen if it reached the temperature necessary to freeze, but there was no movement between the molecules, that tap will basically start a chain reaction where one area that is jolted, that has that small injection of kinetic energy, will freeze, and that phase transition then will have a chain reaction effect throughout the entire bottle. There's probably a
That's
fancy
awesome.
scientific name for it, but it's basically just the phase transition happening when that extra energy is kicked into it. I think it's called latent energy. Yeah,
I know that experiment. That's a cool, fun experiment.
yeah.
You can do it at home.
Um, these are like random bits of science that are not like my area of science that I know. There was so much in the book that I was reading it and I was like, I wouldn't know how to do this. Like, I'm surprised that he, in fact, a former guest, multiple time guest on our show, Sarah Amidor, who's a multidisciplinary biologist. I was talking to her a couple of weeks ago about the book, and she loved it, but also made the same comment of like, I'm a biologist as well. I couldn't do half of those things that he's describing. It's like he's a super scientist somehow. Maybe I think in her opinion that was maybe one of the um, least realistic things.
Yeah, he did seem to know quite a bit,
It's
but
quite impressive.
you could back it up with the fact that um, the lady, I forget her first name, Strat, who's running the entire
Yeah.
operation. of sending people Project Hail Mary, she made sure that the people that went on the voyage had all Wikipedia and all scientific texts and every
Hmm.
bit of entertainment you can possibly find on the planet and
Yeah.
sent with them. And so you could argue that he had all the information. He knew how to search it up. I mean, when he was back on Earth, first investigating the astrophage, the joke was he was tinkering with it for 3 days before he decided to poke it with a stick and see what happens. So in defense of Sarah Amador's thoughts that maybe he wasn't all super mega genius, but while he had time up there, you can kind of
And access
make
to all of Wikipedia.
he looked up stuff. I mean, he gifted Rocky at the very end one of our laptops with Earth
Yeah.
knowledge, and that's like a treasure because their scholars will study this.
Speaking of Wikipedia, I was preparing for this episode and I found myself looking at a list of sports idioms because for folks, I guess maybe to an American audience, the term, Hail Mary has a very obvious connotation, right? So the book and the movie and the project itself is called Project Hail Mary because it's a long shot, last ditch effort. And I found myself like looking at the origin of this, like how this term for the Catholic Hail Mary prayer became affiliated with a long shot last ditch effort, and
Hmm.
it was through the Notre Dame's football team in the 1920s,
Oh wow!
and you had enough of these what are they called, the Fighting Irish, right? The
Yes,
Notre
yes.
Dame um, football team. So enough of them moving into professional NFL, and then eventually the phrase caught on. I think by the 70s or 80s, but it could have been a totally different sports idiom. Like imagine if it was like Project Alley Oop.
Rogers alley oop. It doesn't have the same ring to it. Alley oop's not. It doesn't deliver that last ditch effort kind of vibe. Hail Mary does.
I have a list here. We could have Project Colon Audible, um,
Uh,
Project Full Court Press,
uh,
um, Project Hit Below the Belt. No, not that one.
I would say that there's a hockey term, pull the goalie. That could apply a little bit. You're
What does
you're
pull the
you're going
goalie mean?
pull the goalie is I hope I'm getting it right. Um the goalie doesn't have to stay at the goal. He can play anywhere he wants. But you need him at the goal because he's the goalie. But there is the option to pull the goalie and let him go on the attack with the rest of the team. And this is something you do at the end of the game. There's no time left. You need that extra push or a little extra man on offense.
Hmm.
Um, pull the goalie, and so
Interesting.
that could work, but they're not really in the situation. They were not really throwing away their defense. They're just Project Hail Mary, long shot,
Hmm. We'll see if we can convince Andy Weir to do
or
a
catch
different
lightning.
sports metaphor. Catch lightning.
Yeah,
I like
yeah. It
that.
was the 1988 World Series. This one's for you, Dave. This is the 1988 World Series. The Los Angeles Dodgers are playing, and it wasn't the final game, but it's the World Series. You need to win every game. And it's the end of the game, and Tommy Lasorda is the manager of the team, and I love Tommy Lasorda so much because he's just a big mouth braggart and the greatest proponents of the San Francisco Giant LA Dodger rivalry. It's beautiful, and it's the end of the game. They need to do something to up the score and win, and he calls in. Uh, Gibson is his name. I forget his first name. John Bob Gibson. I don't know. They call this guy Gibson, and he's old. He's done. This is it. This is last season. He's retiring. He can't walk. His knees are shot, and he's in the bullpen. Not in, he's in the clubhouse, and so Tommy sort of famously gets on the phone, calls down. Can he hit? Can he give us one? Can he give us? Can he get us out of this jam? And they ask him, and he calls back, and they said, yeah. He says he's got one hit left. Like, who says that kind of thing? And he's in the clubhouse, and he's practicing his swings, and he's groaning and screaming in pure pain, and he's just getting loose as best he can. And they call him up, and when he gets called up, the whole stadium goes nuts because he's kind of a hero. And the announcer's like, "What is Tommy Lasorda, the manager, doing? Why is he?
Mm.
He's trying to catch lightning. There's no way this is going to work." And sure enough, he gets a home run and ends the game. Go catch lightning. I don't know if
Is
that's
this
an
like
official term, but I remember it from the announcers from that famous day, and that was a great term.
catch lightning in a bottle? Is that the idea?
I don't know if it's in a bottle, but catch lightning.
Interesting. Catch lightning.
Mm-hmm. But Hail Mary works. Let's stick with Hail Mary.
Yeah. Hail Mary
Just
works.
tell a
We can
baseball
keep
story.
it. Love it. Okay, so we've had the question of would you eat a me burger? Were there any other big questions that we had, either related to this book or more general?
Would you volunteer for a one-way suicide mission to
Probably.
save the world?
Oh, nah.
You wouldn't do it?
No, I think I would. I
You
think
don't know how
if
you're
I could
gonna
legitimately.
die. You know you're gonna die, but you don't know how. You might have to do it yourself, and you get to pick any way you want. They got very excited in the book. The astronauts talking about how they're going to choose their methods of suicide. Very exciting. Very exciting.
I think, yeah, I think that if I could actually contribute, I would. Um, Generally speaking, like I base my decisions of what I do in life on is this like, is this something that I think would be a good experience for me? And is this something that I think is objectively a good thing to do for other people? Right?
Right.
Like doing research in science and then correspondingly or subsequently doing like science communication like we do here on this wonderful show, I think is objectively like a good thing, a helpful thing for the world, furthering human knowledge, helping human education. I also find it incredibly enjoyable and fun and fulfilling. So I feel like those two are like the main deciders for me. And I feel like, yeah, this sort of like one-way mission, if it was really something that I could contribute to, sure.
All right.
How do you feel about it?
It's a tough one. Since we're talking sci-fi, Interstellar, I think, nailed that whole feeling with Matthew McConaughey.
Mm-hmm.
He
His
was
daughter.
he had to decide: do I take a chance and a chance to save the world and say goodbye to my family, or do I my own kids, or do I stay here and spend as much time with them as I can before
Mm.
the inevitable? And it's a hard choice. And something that bothers me about movies is sometimes the trailers are better than the movie. And there's a great one of the original first teaser trailers or something. It was just it's very sad and it's very moving. and humanity is not meant to die here. We're meant to leave. And that was a whole powerful statement. And then he has to choose in that trailer, family or species. And he has
Yeah.
to, it's a hard, hard, hard choice. I don't know. I don't know. I think my kids are grown. If I had to go make the choice right now, today, my kids
Hmm.
are grown enough. They have memories of me, I hope, and enough embarrassing home movies and videos of me doing things. And, you know, yeah, maybe they'll, every time they do the dishes, they'll think of me. That'd be nice. And, but I think if I have a genuine chance of doing it, saving, I would, I'm not no, but I'm teetering. I think I would, maybe. I don't know what I would offer, but if someone convinced me that, yeah, maybe. It's a tough question. And then also do that stupid thing from Armageddon when they all said if we go on this mission, we don't ever want to pay taxes again, ever. I would do that. I would do that. If I'm going, my family going a few generations, we're never going to pay taxes again, ever. My kids and my grandkids and my great grandkids. I'm not here, but they don't pay taxes.
And that's what's important.
I don't know. I think that's a fair. I think it's a fair ask. I think it's a fair ask.
Yeah, I mean, the survival of humanity, sure, but as long as, even if humanity doesn't survive for for the last few years, like most folks should be paying taxes, sure.
I think it's a fair ask.
I'm very excited to see this movie. I think that seeing it on the screen will be an interesting break from what I've been picturing while I read the book, and I
Yeah.
think that the humanity, like what you're describing in this decision making process of deciding to go, or let's say being forced to go
Hmm.
on a mission like this, um, I think it'll be really cool to see how that's portrayed in the movie, as opposed to how I imagined it in the book.
I hope you enjoy the
And
movie.
yeah, Benjamin, for those just listening, Benjamin was just like nodding for 10 seconds, thinking, "Can I respond without spoiling the movie?" Probably not. Just
So I just said I hope you enjoy the movie. It's a fun movie. Uh, I say for me, um, I think the way Rocky looks in the movie was very close, like almost spot on to what I pictured Rocky to look like in
oh
the
yeah,
book. And I thought that was just very nice. This is not a spoiler, by the way. Your popcorn
sure.
buckets look like freaking Rocky. So I mean, this. But I think he looks spot on to what I
Okay.
expected. That was great. And there's a couple little um, funny bits with Rocky in the book that he does in the movie, which is just, yeah, that's exactly how I saw him doing that. It was great. It was the funniest thing. Like, well done, well done.
One other thing that I thought was really interesting about the movie, in their interactions between Rocky and Grace, was um, this idea that there was certain cultural norms that were so at odds with, between human culture and Iridian culture, that they just had this accepted idea of like it's a human thing. And if someone said it's a human thing, it's like, cool, I'm backing off. I'm not going to try to like logic my way to understanding it. Like, I'll just respect that culture, because it was crazy how, we mentioned food before, and how eating for the Iridians is this really private thing that's so disgusting and gross that, like, it's almost like going to the bathroom. It's like, no, like, you don't eat around other people. Like, you go into a private closed space and you eat
Yeah,
there, and then you come out when you're done. Um,
yeah,
and inversely, this idea of Iridians needing to be watched while they sleep.
I thought that was funny. That
So
was very
interesting.
interesting. It just, yeah. So there's a lot of similarities as far as
Yeah.
self, protecting your family and finding a mate and all that kind of stuff. There's other cultural differences which are just weird.
The Adrian line killed me. Sorry, speaking of finding a mate.
The Adrian line?
Yeah, when he's trying to find a word
Yes.
in Iridian for Rocky's mate, Rocky's partner, and and Ryland comes up with Adrian. Um, I laughed out loud when I read that. I don't know if that's in the movie, but I will find out.
You will find out. I'll, the movie covers a lot of ground. I think at the very least, it's fun and entertaining. There's a lot. Whenever you make a movie of a book, of course, you got to adapt some things for screen. That happens.
Sure.
But I think it's very entertaining and it's colorful and bright, and you're going to another planet in another part of another solar system somewhere, so things have to look completely wild and different, and they do it
Hmm.
so nicely, and I just it was pretty cool,
Very cool.
pretty cool.
I'm excited for it. Um, you will definitely be getting a message from me the moment that I leave the cinema. I don't know if I mentioned to you, I'm going to see it with my partner and with previous guests on the show, Faye
Yeah.
and Ina.
Oh gosh, just nerding it up with nerds.
I'm surrounded by some of the best nerds here in
Yeah,
Sydney.
you are. Yes, you are.
They're so great. But yeah, I'll send you a selfie, and I'll let you know what I think of it. Um, I think, folks, if you have been listening or watching and you have additional comments or questions about the science of Project Hail Mary, um, things that you like, things you didn't like, or maybe like other sci-fi. I feel like we've done other sci-fi episodes, but there's so much we haven't covered.
Yeah,
Write in, send us a message, send us an email, a telegram, a video note telling us what we missed, what we should cover. You can find us to send us that on the interwebs.
absolutely. Yeah,
All
some
the
time for
interwebs.
quick questions and quibbles before we
Yes,
adios.
yes, we can do some very quick ones, and then we'll tell people where on the internet afterwards. But yes,
Yeah, yeah, let's do this. Okay.
oh god, I'm already scared.
All right. Since we're talking about a book, here's a book question. When you're reading a book, to save your space, do you dog ear the page like a savage, or do you bookmark it like a person with self respect?
I absolutely bookmark it like a person with self-respect and with book respect. My partner is an avid reader, has a degree in English literature, and reads much faster than me, and always makes me feel bad about it. And and she doesn't use either method. She just remembers which page she was on, which is crazy.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Brilliant.
preparing you. I thought that sentence was going to end with she just reads a book all the way through without stopping, but which would have blown my brain out. But brain out, which would have blown me away. But the fact that she can remember what page she was on and come back—that's
Mm.
ridiculous.
I have
Ridiculous.
seen her finish a book in well, definitely a weekend, but yeah, there's some shorter books that I've seen her finish in a single day. So,
Okay.
but yeah, wait, please don't tell me you're bend the corner of the page sort of person.
No, actually, what I do, I'm a very big fan of taking the sleeve and tucking
Mm.
it in, and then when I get to the back half, I use the back of the sleeve. I like doing that very much. I don't if I don't have a bookmark handy, which I usually never do.
Oh,
So
I have. When I was finishing undergrad, I somehow ended up with a whole stack of bookmarks from my undergrad university, and I just have a drawer filled with them. And I have a little cute cartoon of Einstein riding a bicycle, because so Einstein's whole personal journals and letters and stuff was all donated to the Hebrew University of Jerusalem after he passed away, and so there's like a building dedicated to him and a library and all that stuff. So like he's often shows up on merchandise for the university. So I have a whole stack of them. So I never I'm never lacking. Your method though, I do like it. I find it unreliable, and I think I just don't trust myself because so many times I'll go to pick up a book where I've used the sleeve as the bookmark, and as I pick it up, the sleeve just like comes out of
Price
place,
out.
and it's like, well, I guess I'm never reading that book again.
Okay.
What else you got?
Okay. I got a couple good ones here. Okay, pick one. All right. Here's a very quick one. Would you rather have a pet-sized T-Rex or a T-Rex-sized hamster?
Pet-sized T-Rex.
Excellent. 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 Would
Do
you rather
you,
go back and meet a famous scientist, but you
wait, hold on.
cannot? Oh, I'm sorry. Go on. Yes.
I have to ask you as well because like I feel like I answered that too
I want a
quickly. Is that
pet-sized T-Rex. I want an absolute pet-sized T-Rex. I
okay?
want
That's
to.
that's the obvious answer, right?
Oh, absolutely. I don't know anybody who would want a giant hamster. That just sounds ridiculous and dumb. And
The shrieks. The
I mean, you
hamster
can you can
shrieks.
ride the hamster, I guess, around town. That'd be kind of cool. But then you got the world's biggest hamster pellets, and that's horrifying. I would rather have a pet like a dog, medium-sized dog-sized T-Rex that I
The
would just dominate the park with. That's it.
Okay, so I'm glad that I had the right answer and an obvious answer, but I'm now stuck picturing a T-Rex sized hamster, and like the acoustics of like their vocal cords when they do like the little hamster shriek sound that they're the wee, 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 would be like so deep and high pitched and powerful that it would just blow out glass windows for blocks.
Oh God, no! I definitely yeah. Yeah, I'm telling everyone else that's your answer
Okay,
too. That's
sorry.
funny.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, please, this is great. Would you rather go back and meet a famous scientist, but you cannot tell them anything about the future, or stay here, but you get one yes or no question answered by them?
Ooh. So I can go back and I can talk with them freely,
Yeah,
except I can't
have a
reveal
nice
anything about
lunch,
the
whatever.
future. Or or I can ask them one question from here.
Hmm.
I mean, I feel like it has to be the former because I could ask them unlimited questions. If I go back, I'm just kind of
Yeah,
constrained by not revealing anything about the future and, time space continuums, yada yada yada. Yeah, yeah, that's a tough one.
that is a tough one.
Yeah. What about you? What
I
would you
would
choose?
I wouldn't think twice. I'd go back and I would
Yeah.
spend a day and get to know them.
Who would it be for
But
you?
I would, as corny as may be, I would not mind hanging out with Mister March 14th, Albert Einstein, and and yeah, I wouldn't tell him anything about the future. I would. I don't know if if this would break the rule, but I would tell him about Pi Day and how awesome that is. But I would if the rule was I can't tell him anything about the future, I could contain myself. I could just talk to him about the stuff he's working on and the things how he came to be and uh, just wahooing on a bicycle down by a river every day, which is what we love to do. And he was known to be quite the prankster as well. And I would love to, because you're going to hang out with a genius, and if might as well hang out with, you know, a funny one.
I wonder if he would have imposter syndrome.
He would of us.
No, 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 no. Like imposter syndrome is a very internalized thing. So it's not. It's just like this idea that scientists have. I think we spoke about this with Zoe Zeracostas a few episodes ago.
Hmm.
Fantastic episode if you haven't listened to it. But like
Yeah.
this idea of no matter how good you are, you think that other people are better, or that you're not up to scratch compared to other people. And I think that in the sciences, this is fairly common that no matter what career stage or academic stage you're at, the imposter syndrome, the idea that you don't belong, that you're not worthy of being where you're at, is always there. So I wonder if maybe it would depend on what career stage he was at. Surely there was a point at which he realized, like, I'm clearly, like, he may have internalized the way that other people viewed him. But if it was early enough, I imagine he probably would have had imposter syndrome, right?
Maybe that's interesting to think about. I mean, because we're also talking about this happening in the head of Einstein. so
Yeah,
so it's like
it's a
it's kind
thought.
of I'm trying in my brain to understand how he would next level that thinking.
It's a thought experiment that's happening in somebody else's brain. Interesting. Well, food
Okay.
for thought for a future
Food for thought.
episode. Edible
Food for
food without heavy metals.
Yes, please don't eat thallium if you ever get the chance. Pass.
Yeah, yeah. But these are good questions. I like it.
Excellent. Plenty more for next time.
Indeed. For reference, where can people find us on the interwebs if they want to go looking?
Please, people, find us. Go to uh, look look up the nerd and the scientist anywhere you get your podcast. Which is kind of silly telling you because you're listening to the podcast. So you already did that, but tell your friends to do it then.
Mm-hmm.
Go to YouTube to watch the full episode or watch a bunch of shorts. Go to TikTok, watch the full episode or a bunch of shorts. And if you'd like to reach us or me specifically, please seek out Science Actually on Facebook and Instagram and the like. Drop us a note. And how about you, Kabi?
You can find me at Fun Fact Science on the Facebook and the Instagram and Blue Sky. Um, I think those are the ones that I'm kind of active on these days. But the world of science is keeping me quite busy and off the socials. But I would definitely respond to any message that I get sent, especially if it's ideas for the show and topics to discuss or ideas for cool guests that we can have. We love the cool guests, and we have some great and very exciting guests coming
Oh,
up
yes.
soon. So please do
Buckle
stay
up,
tuned.
kids.
Oh yeah, buckle up, buckle down, buckle every direction. Um, just buckle. Cover yourself in buckles.
Cover yourself in
Yeah.
buckles. Okay, okay.
And we will see you all next time on the next episode of Science Actually Presents The Nerd and the Scientist.
Ta ta.